Shiro was a regular employee in Japan, living a boring life with no spirit and the same routine every day. And he always felt that he wanted something more than this. Every morning he woke up, rode the bus, and went to work. He kept sitting until night, then returned to his tired apartment that was old and stuffy and spent the rest of his day watching TikTok and trivialities. He wished to live a better life, and this wish came true in the end on one of the nights he woke up suddenly and found himself in a white void with nothing in it. His eyes focused a bit, and he found himself in front of a K-pop idol with white hair telling him he is a leader. But Shiro is not a 13-year-old girl to be impressed, so he sat in front of him very coldly, asking him where the K-pop leader actually is. He told him that Shiro died, and now he is in the limbo stage, and this is a place where the soul disappears forever. But the leader decided to give him a chance to send him to a fantasy world called Matthäus to live in from the start as any character he chooses. Shiro naturally got very excited and felt that this was the dream he had been waiting for. The leader held a board and started writing the abilities he would put inside Shiro, and not much time passed before we found Shiro suddenly thrown into the world of Matthäus. As soon as he woke up, he found himself in the middle of a forest, happy and pleased that he finally got a second chance at life. He stood up and started to discover the place until he walked out of the forest and saw a small village from afar. His concern was to go see what was in it of cool things, but he said to himself, if he entered without money, people would suspect him and would not even give him food. Suddenly he remembered that the leader told him he has a developed exploration skill with which he can find expensive things and sell them. He stood holding a stick and screamed to activate the magic, but nothing happened. He got tense and thought that the leader tricked him, but after a while, he tried another word. As soon as he said search, the magic worked immediately, and the locations of everything collectible in the forest appeared to him. He said to himself, this is very useful, and he tried another ability that gives more information about everything. He tried many words until the word scan worked and was able to give him details about the things he was collecting, and he became like someone at an open buffet. He gathered everything he found and analyzed it, and then threw it in the magic bag that has no storage limits or a scam monthly subscription. And after he gathered all he could, he decided to go to the village. And with the setting of the sun, he arrived at the village gate where a sleeping guard was standing. Shiro greeted him. The guard woke up terrified, and it turned out that the village people are all short in stature, and Shiro was the tallest one in the place. The guard asked him, are you a swordsman or a knight? And was shocked when he knew he is a resource collector, not a fighter. And this is not very common. The guard opened the door for him and told him to go to the main shop in the middle of the village. Shiro entered the quiet village and walked in the wide road, and people looked at him from afar, wondering about this tall stranger. Shiro entered the main shop. The place was a bit dark. The man who owned the shop welcomed him and asked him, what do you want to sell? Shiro took out a smooth oval stone. The man held it and looked at it with astonishment and told him, this is anteater droppings. I have never seen a complete sample like this, and told him that he would buy it from him for 5 silver coins. Shiro calculated it and found it meant about $350, a sum many people do not see in their lives. He agreed immediately, and the man kept wiping his face with joy. He asked him, do you have other things? Shiro took out everything he gathered from the forest. The man was shocked by the quality and quantity and asked him, what brought you to a small village like this? These things you could sell for more money in the big cities. Shiro lied to him and said that he is a traveler and collects things from here and there. The man understood that he is talented and told him he has a mission to bring him jewels from the nearby snow mountains, but he might meet monsters there. Shiro hesitated, but when the man told him that he would give him 20,000 in return, he agreed against his will. He bid the man farewell and walked around the village until he found a small hotel. He took a room and went in to sleep on the rough bed, and he wished to take a shower to remove the dust and sweat. Suddenly someone knocked on the door. A small girl entered, and with her was a big plate with warm water. Shiro looked at it with astonishment and asked her, what do I do with this? She told him, you do not smell nice clean yourself with the towel. Shiro told her there is no shower. The girl was surprised and told him the shower does not exist except with the nobles we wash like this only. Shiro was shocked and said, even the bathroom we are deprived of. The girl told him that there are mages who can make a bath with magic for money. Shiro's brain worked. He gave her the money and a tip and kicked her out of the room. He closed the door door and started trying magic until he succeeded in making water magic and was able to take a respectable bath. And after he cleaned up and rested, he slept exhausted but still missing the real shower. He woke up the second day very early and headed to the forest to gather new things. As he was looking for a mushroom, he spotted a mark, strange coming from the bushes. He went to see what was there, but found a decomposed corpse thrown there. He was startled and fell on his back, and after he calmed down and looked again, he discovered that this man was from the security squad and died while fighting monsters. He thought about escaping the place, but in the end he decided to continue. Shiro carried the corpse and buried it well in the ground, and then stuck the man's sword above the grave as if it were a marker for it. And after he finished what he had to do, he decided to prepare dinner. And since the sun was about to set, he first made a magic barrier around him to protect himself and sat on the ground and put a pot over a fire he lit. And because he is not an idiot sandwich, he decided to cook by himself. He gathered some wild vegetables from what he found along with some meat and made a great stew. That tasted incredible, and this made the end of his day nice. The next morning, he headed towards the haunted forest. The forest that is all dead trees and fog, covering the place to the point that you can barely see even in the day. He used light magic to see the road and entered inside knowing that this place is full of monsters. But no matter where he looked, there was no living creature present. He started collecting anything that had value, and when he finished, he decided to leave. As he was walking, he saw light towards the exit. He ran towards it quickly and did not notice that he was running towards a dangerous edge. He fell and descended into a deep chasm and would have lost his life if he had not thought quickly and used flight magic and was able to control his descent and stand in the air. He went down to the ground quietly and let out a relieved sigh, realizing that he was on the verge of dying, and decided to take matters more seriously and act with caution. He activated light magic again inside the cave and was shocked that the place was full of different ores and minerals. He took out a small hammer and started breaking the rocks and separating the minerals and filled his bag with a nice amount. He saw another ore far away, but an earthquake suddenly reminded him that he should not stay here long. He had to use fireball magic to open the rock quickly and extract the metal. And for his luck, it turned out to be the mithril metal that the shop owner had asked for. He put it in the bag quickly, but despite the second earthquake, he decided to enter deeper. After a while, he noticed a blue light coming from the end of the tunnel. He walked behind it until he found a large opening with a lake in the middle that was blue in an unnatural way. He went down quickly and scanned the lake with scan magic, and it turned out that this water is S-grade, meaning one of the highest types of magical water. He was very happy and decided he must take some of it with him, but started thinking, do I have a large flask that is enough? Before he thought more, a huge black dragon suddenly came out of the depth of the lake. It sprayed water in every direction and drenched Shiro, who kept screaming, "Who woke me from my sleep?" But Shiro, who got used to being a soulless employee, unleashed the posture of crushing and submission that he got used to treating everyone with, and started apologizing that he intruded on him. The dragon exploded laughing because it was the first time he saw someone with such nerves and asked him, "Who are you?" Shiro told him that he is a normal human, but the dragon refused to believe and told him that he senses huge magical energy inside him, almost like the dragon's energy itself. The dragon told him that he needs his assistance with something that no one other than someone very strong can do. He told him about an egg he has that refuses to hatch for a long time and asked him if he could help him, and to convince him, he touched the water and out came from the lake dozens of large mithril ores. Shiro agreed immediately. The dragon took out a huge black egg and threw it to Shiro. Shiro caught it and tried to hear its pulse, and then asked himself, well, what will I do? He remembered that eggs must stay warm, so he started using heat magic to warm the egg. Suddenly, the egg started absorbing all the energy from his body, and Shiro thought it was a prank and that he would die, and he fainted. He woke up, finding himself surrounded by warm water, and another K-pop leader appeared to him with black hair and told him that what he did started to ruin the balance of the world. Shiro asked him, "Did I die?" The leader replied and told him not just yet, and suddenly, Shiro returned to consciousness and woke up in the dark. He turned on light magic and found the baby dragon coming out of the egg. The big dragon was very happy, and the baby was standing swaying, still learning to stand. The dragon thanked Shiro and told him to name the baby. Shiro, with his usual stupidity, named her Pi. After that, the big dragon surprised Shiro with the surprise that Pi would live with him from now on. Shiro could not believe that a rare and beautiful creature like this would be tied to him, but the dragon told him that he is actually very very strong and will know how to protect her. And after that, he dove underwater and disappeared, and left Shiro and Pai to begin the journey together. Shiro and Pai went out of the cave and the time was close to night. Pai was flying around him happy because it was the first time she saw the world above. Shiro understood that the night was close, so he decided to make a camp nearby and filled a cup from the magic lake water the old dragon had used. Magic and tied Shiro's bag to the lake itself because the water is very important for the growth of Pai. She drank a cup and asked for more, and Shiro filled it, but she suddenly gave him the cup so he could drink and be happy, like her. After that, he used some magic stones to make a barrier around the place without, saying the incantations out loud, knowing that these stones are very rare, and he read this in a book he had bought. But this did not matter to him because Shiro is able to craft magic stones easily. He focused heat magic in his hand and crafted a stone that lights a steady fire for cooking. And when the fire lit, he started preparing meat stew. As soon as Pai saw the food, she started drooling in an exaggerated way. Shiro told her that she would destroy the meal and filled a plate for her and told her, "Watch out, this is hot," but she swallowed it at once and burned her tongue. And this is a big flaw for a dragon, honestly. So he had to blow on the food and cool it for her, and she drank until she got full and slept from exhaustion. Shiro found her very cute and asked her, "Do you not miss your father?" Pai told him that she is happy that she is with him. Shiro opened her information page and was surprised that she is rank B and has very strong buffs. He was shocked, but said to himself, even if she is strong, she is still a child and needs someone older to guide her. And he started advising her to listen to his words and not do reckless things. The next morning, Shiro brought himself up the cliff he fell from yesterday. He arrived at the forest and was shocked that it looked completely different and said surely it is from the strange movements of this world. And while he was looking in the area around him, Pai was exploring on her own, and Shiro decided to look for some useful things. And indeed, he found some new herbs. Suddenly, he felt a strange sting, and the next second, Pai flew towards him, terrified of something. Shiro immediately started looking around him and searching for any monsters, and indeed, there appeared to him several indicators on the radar. He was very surprised because yesterday, there was not a single monster, and started suspecting that his rotten smell that was scaring the monsters washed off already, but he was not afraid to fight them. Maybe he would get some nice materials out of them. But it seemed the annoyance was not only in the forest, and suddenly a C-rank rock falcon appeared from behind him. Pai was paralyzed by its predatory appearance, but Shiro saw it as very cute next to the old dragon he saw before. And while he was reading the monster's description, he found written that its meat tastes great, and this alone was a sufficient reason to hunt it. He made a shield and then threw ice arrows at it that took it down in a second. Shiro rejoiced that he obtained an ingredient, but Pai pointed out to him monsters coming from the forest. As soon as he turned his face, he found wolves whose tails consisted of snakes. He decided to fight them up close. He made incantations to lighten his body and speed it up, and as soon as the wolf attacked him, he jumped up easily, then made his body hard as iron and landed with his leg on the first wolf's head and killed it in an instant. The other wolves attacked, but Shiro was much faster than them. He was dodging them and finishing them off with strikes. Fast and strong, he gathered the meat from all the monsters, but then noticed there were more monsters coming from the forest. He got angry because he would not keep fighting all day here. Pai decided to help. She tried to carry him and fly with him, and Shiro did not expect that she could, but Pai used her girly strength and actually carried him. Shiro tried to help her and reduce his weight with a spell, but Pai did not notice, and suddenly he flew up to the sky. Shiro panicked and kept shouting that she was going up too high, so she got startled and dropped him, and he kept screaming while falling. But the trees broke the fall, and he landed safe, thank God. Pai flew to him and started licking his face, and he became annoyed with her a bit. And while he was getting up, he found himself out of the forest, basically because Pai is faster than a fighter jet. He thanked her and asked her next time to calm down the game a bit because he is much weaker than her. But Pai did not understand this philosophical talk and hugged him hard and broke 2 ribs. After that, they continued their way towards the village, and Shiro was holding a branch he found in his bag. He told Pai that this branch belongs to the legendary traders, who embodies the world itself but is sleeping now. Pai knew how to wake anything up. She blew her stinky smell on it, and suddenly the branch turned into a staff. Shiro was shocked and started doubting if someone like him could use a staff at all. He does not want people to think he is a normal wizard or anything. His thoughts were cut off when he heard a loud roar. He got tense and prepared for the fight, but Pai flew towards the sound, and this made him worry for her. He ran after her, and when he arrived, he found her circling around a tree. He got close to it and found an exhausted elf with torn clothes. clothes. He asked her if a monster attacked her, but she denied, and suddenly her stomach made the sound that made him terrified of the roar. She told him she had not drunk or eaten for 3 days. Shiro was shocked that this roar was from her stomach actually. She asked for water. He gave her the bottle. She drank it all in one gulp. The water relieved her a bit, but the hunger remained. Shiro looked in his bag for his lunch box and gave it to her. The elf swallowed it whole and then emitted a beam of joy and said that the food tastes like it makes one go to heaven. Shiro was surprised. He never expected that elves would be like this, not civilized. He told her that the food tastes good because she was hungry, but he asked her how she finished her food quickly when there is a nearby village. She got confused by the question, so he started scolding her and told her even beginners take food with them on trips. She got annoyed with him and was about to fight, but he retreated quickly. Her smell was terrible. The obsessed Shiro told her that he thought elves smelled like mint and strawberries, but her smell is like a barn. The elf got angry and told him that she could not bathe because she has been sleeping in the forest for days. After that, she told him thank you for the food, but she added and told him it is shameful to make fun of someone we just met and said this is not manly behavior and ran away. Shiro was irritated that his first meeting with an elf turned out like this. He went back to continue gathering his things and then went out of the forest. Pai saw a carriage coming from more than a mile away, and Shiro was impressed. The carriage approached and was pulled by a unicorn horse. The merchant man driving was surprised too. He signaled to him and asked him what he is doing here. Shiro told him he is going to Termi village on foot. The merchant's family looked from the carriage to see who this is. The man saw the staff with Shiro and asked him if he was a mage or not. Shiro got tense and told him that he is just a resource collector. This was more amazing because those of the collector class are very rare. The merchant offered him to ride with them because they are also going to Termi. Shiro asked if his weight and height would cause a problem, but the man had no problem at all. He rode with them and knew the kids were surprised by his height. He thanked them and they told him that this is normal because people here always help each other. Shiro felt that they are too kind. He asked them if he turned out to be a thief, what they would do. He tried to scare the kids, but the boy told him it is impossible for you to be a thief. The bell did not ring. Shiro was surprised, so the lady showed him a bell inside, a magic crystal. If someone bad approached, the bell rings. Shiro got excited and said he could make a crystal like it. He remembered that he did not introduce himself, so he introduced himself, and they introduced themselves by their names. Their father Valam, their mother Eliza, and their children, Yunan and Kane. And while they were talking, Pai made a strange sound. The kids heard the sound coming from Shiro's back. They got excited to see what he was hiding, and Shiro got tense and told them it is a rare monster, and they would be surprised. Eliza told him there is no problem because adventurers always have monsters with them. This talk encouraged him to bring out Pai, but he told her not to bite anyone. The kids were overjoyed by her beauty, but the father and mother were shocked because dragons are very rare. Valam asked Shiro if he was a dragon knight. Shiro said that he just found the egg by chance and hatched it, and this made them more shocked. Dragon knights are very rare. Shiro was eager to know more about them and remembered in his old life that they must be cool. Night came. The family started setting up camp. Shiro made light and placed magic stones around the place as a barrier. He told them the stones would keep monsters away, and if something happened, Pai would alert them. The family trusted Pai more than the stones, and this upset him secretly. Then Eliza was going to cook, but Shiro told her to leave it to him to cook. He took out his tools and ingredients from his magic bag, and this shocked them too. He cooked them food from what he gathered, and they all went crazy for the taste. Valam cried and said that he is bored of dried meat every day. He told Shiro that he is surely a wizard, and a wizard in cooking too. They all laughed and danced and sang before sleep. Shiro was touched. He never ate with anyone on the ground. He felt that the presence of someone with him at the meal is a blessing. In the morning, Valam was cleaning the horse in the carriage. The kids were still sleeping, and Pai was sleeping between them. Shiro was awake and cleaning his scissors until they shined. Eliza came out and told him he who cares for his tools is an excellent adventurer. Shiro felt that he is truly enjoying his life, and that although he took the collector class, by chance maybe he turned out talented in it actually. Very soon, they would finish their preparation and continue their journey. But this time Shiro asked to hold the reins, and Valam agreed without thinking. Shiro sat in front next to him, and they kept going without any problems. The unicorn horse appeared to be very smart, listening to every word from Shiro and executing immediately. Pai woke up a bit later and flew towards him quickly before, standing next to him at his legs as usual. After a few hours of travel without any fatigue, they saw the first glimpse of Termi village, and a little bit later, they were standing at the gate. Shiro got off there, and Valam and his family thanked him for the beautiful time they spent with him before continuing their way. The guard recognized surprised Valam and told him as usual that he always brings with him summer and spring. Shiro was surprised and asked the guard what it means brings spring. The guard told him that Valam and his family always follow the regions that are warm because of his work, and they travel chasing good weather. So their appearance in the village means that heat and spring have arrived. And also the guard said that hunting became scarce these days. And here, Shiro remembered how much Valam was happy with the food he found. He thanked God that he has this collection ability, so he worries about neither food nor money. Afterwards, he entered to the person, owner of the mission, who had tasked him with it, and showed him all he brought. The man sat flipping through the things, one by one, but he was very focused on a certain stone. He turned to Shiro and asked him, "Where did you find this stone?" "This is not regular mithril. This is magic mithril." Shiro was surprised and did not understand at all, but the man said that this is a legendary stone and contains a terrible amount of mana, and a few small stones of it could suffice the whole kingdom instead of regular magic stones. Shiro was shocked, but hid his secret and said that he found it just like that. The man laughed and said that even if he found it by chance, this means he has a skill and great luck, and told him honestly, "You will be wasted here. Go to the city of Blem. There are many people there who have money to buy these things, and you will learn more." And he also advised him to join the Adventurers Guild. At night, Shiro sat in his room searching more about the topic of guilds. He discovered that the subject is very useful, but he is not in a hurry. He decided that he would leave soon, but would stay 2 more days in Turi. A few days passed, and during them, he decided to gift the village the meat he had hunted before, and due to the scarcity of hunting people, were all very happy and eating from their hearts. The village elders were happy the mission succeeded. After a few days of gathering and roaming, the time of departure came. The kind old woman gave him spices and seasonings for travel, and said that the village got used to him and they do not want him to leave. Shiro promised them he would return. She gave him also homemade food for the long journey, which will last about a month until Blem, and she told him, "If you get annoyed or miss us, come back to us." Shiro thanked her and returned to his room and put Pai to sleep and told himself to sleep, but he remembered how much the village treated him with love, so he decided to return the favor. He went to the table and looked at the lantern and the magic stone and thought about the guard standing outside all day protecting the village, so he decided to use the mana and merged the lantern with the stone and produced a new magical tool from it. In the morning, the whole village gathered to bid him farewell. He felt that this place truly became his home, so he gave them the gift he crafted and told the guard that it makes a magic barrier to protect them from monsters. The whole village was in disbelief and joy filled them, but the shop owner held the tool and opened it and found the magic stone still inside it. He tried to return it to Shiro quickly, but Shiro ran and told him keep it, for the village and everyone bade him farewell as he walked. And while he was walking in the clean air, suddenly he found a huge crab in front of him. He was startled but explored its status and found it a sea monster, meaning not very strong and also edible. Shiro ran and said to Pai, "This meat is very beautiful." He prepared himself and cast body enhancement magic, but before he attacked, Pai hit it with a sonic blast and flipped it. The second before he removed the meat, 2 other crabs appeared swaying right and left. Shiro said, "I will use their movement against them," but was shocked that they ran forward, not sideways. He did not manage to escape and thought and said, "Will I die like this?" But Pai held his clothes from above and lifted him in the air, and the 2 crabs crashed into each other and died. The first one remained attacking him, but Shiro was ready and gave it a home run stick strike, and it died. At night, he made the best feast. He cut the crab legs, put them in a pot of water and spices, and made a heavy soup. And after they cooked, he sat with Pai, breaking the shells and eating the first crab in the new world. The taste was a masterpiece, and Shiro told Pai that he is excited to travel the world and try more food. And a few days later, he arrived at the gate of Blem City, a huge fortified city next to water. He stood in the entry line and feared appearing strange, so he changed the shape of his magic bag to a normal bag and told Pai, hide. When his turn came, the employees searched his bag and scanned his ID card and did a simple secret check. Everything was fine, but the employee told him, "You have a dragon blessing, and this is a bit strange." Shiro revealed the secret and showed them Pai, and they were impressed by her, but the employee said he must put an identification mark on it. Shiro put a bracelet on her tail and continued his entry. The city was crowded and different races walking next to each other. Humans, dwarves, warriors, wizards, everything working. As soon as he saw the Adventurers Guild building, he went straight away. He entered and found it full of warriors and professional people, and suddenly a rabbit girl appeared who is Arya and told him welcome. "Do you want to register?" Shiro agreed and walked behind her. She asked him about his experience. He told her a strange bird, some wolves, how many? Giant crabs. She was shocked and asked him, "Do you have proof?" So Shiro very calmly took out a complete dead crab from the bag and threw it on the table. The table broke, and Arya ran from the shock, and people all came to watch. One of the furry creatures used his skill and told Arya to calm down. The boy's intentions are blue, meaning kind. Shiro was surprised. They asked him, "Why are you carrying a dead crab?" He said, "I will eat it. Who leaves sweet meat to spoil?" People were shocked. It is clear that no one here eats crab, but no one objected to him. The furry told Arya to complete his registration, and they asked him, "Do you have partners?" He said, "Me and Pai a dragon." Everyone around him was shocked. A rare dragon and a rare resource collector, a nearly impossible combination. People started offering him to join teams. Arya took him to another room. Shiro thought he would get something nice, but he just got the guild stamp on his papers, and thus officially became an adventurer. She gave him a copper bracelet, meaning rank F, which is the start of the road. Shiro was not annoyed or anything. On the contrary, he was letting his imagination wander, imagining the cool adventures that were still ahead of him. Half a month passed since the day he entered the city, and he literally became beloved by all. Every little while, he returned with high-value things that sold in seconds, to the point that people started asking for him by name for the jobs, because he did not inflate the price, and at the same time brought them things worth every penny. He returned to the guild again, carrying a fresh load of magic mushrooms that he got from Mike Tyson. The beastly man behind the counter was examining the mushrooms well, because he knew that if the mushrooms were not up to standard, Mike Tyson might leave, someone without an ear. But with Shiro, he never worried. The mushrooms were always excellent, even before he paid him. Arya entered on them, carrying a pile of papers for other missions, telling him that half the city wanted him specifically. Shiro looked at the quantity and told her impossible to do all this at once. He took half of them and left her the other half, and after he finished, he decided to spoil himself and went to the public bath to have a hot soak to remove the pain from his body. He sat sighing with pleasure, and the hot water pampered him, and Pai was swinging in the water, happy and unbothered. Shiro remembered how disgusting the water here was on the first day he came, but now after the magic he did, it became clean, hot, soft, and comfortable water for all. The people? Suddenly, a silver lizard man named Clay entered and greeted Shiro and asked him how he was. Shiro replied to him and asked him how he was here at this time when he was always out on missions. Clay sat next to him and told him that his old wounds started hurting him again this period, so he wanted the hot water to soothe them a bit. And then when he heard that Shiro heals with magic, he asked him, "Did you really treat the sick man in the slums?" Shiro laughed and told him that he just imitated something he saw long ago. Clay asked him if he took money, but he knew the answer was of course no. Clay told him that if he wanted, he could earn gold from healing because healers here were rare. But Shiro was worried that other healers would take a stance against him and hate him. Clay laughed and told him, "By the way, you got a notification to raise your rank." Shiro told him that he was not in a hurry, and it was better for him to stay away from the spotlight. Clay replied and told him this way, "You would attract more attention and people wanting to destroy you might appear, so take care." After the bath, he returned to the counter to take his money, and Pai was eating biscuits, but the employee asked him as usual, "When would you raise your rank?" Shiro smiled and said that he still wanted to sort things out before doing so. He knew that increasing the rank would bring him much more expensive work, but this meant also more obligations, and he was comfortable like that. Suddenly, the door opened and a messenger entered, screaming and saying the city would be attacked by an army of goblins. The guild flipped in a second, everyone running to wear armor and carry his swords. The master was asking about the high ranks, and the small mouse girl told him that no one but Clay was present. The master announced that these ranks and above must participate immediately. Shiro was standing watching and said to himself this was not his job anyway. He was still rank F, but the master called him too and told him that they needed him. He told him that the goblins would probably come from the western side and attack the bridge, and if they crossed it, the city would burn. The best plan was to stop them before they got close to the gate. Enthusiasm ignited in the guild, with all the warriors shouting with optimism, while Shiro stood saying what brought him here amidst these gangs when he was actually a matcha latte with plant milk guy. Next to Shiro, there were two muscular men who started talking trash and told him not to get close to them so he would not get crushed under their feet. Before Shiro replied to them, the master interrupted and asked him, "Are you the Shiro?" whom everyone did not stop praising, and said that he wanted to see how much of this talk was real. Other than that, he was impressed that Shiro did not get startled by him and left him with the mouse girl and walked away. The girl apologized and told him that naturally rank F did not go to war, but the master surely saw something in him, and for her too, this was her first war, and from the overwhelming excitement, she suddenly started crying and shivering and threw herself into his arms, telling him to save her. Shiro said to himself, this cutie would be a disaster if she stayed like this in the war. He calmed her and told her to focus only on treating the injured, and this alone was enough. She calmed down a bit and ran to her tent to help. Clay suddenly Suddenly he appeared from the dark and laughed. So Shiro was surprised and asked him why he was not on the front line. Clay told him his wound hurt. Shiro touched the spot immediately, so Clay was surprised and asked him, did he think he got it while running? Shiro asked him how when it was impossible, for it to show that it happened while he was protecting someone very important, as this was a bravery wound. Before they finished talking, Clay suddenly focused and looked far away and saw dust coming towards the city. His face changed and he said their plan failed and the goblins crossed and he ran, carrying his spear. Shiro screamed at him and told him he was wounded and to come back, but Clay told him no, he had people he must protect and ran. Shiro understood that he must go down himself. He activated a magic shield around the injured tent and ran at top speed towards the war. He found people falling and soldiers getting defeated while the goblins were crossing towards the city. The two muscular men who annoyed him were fighting, but the goblins passed behind them. Shiro did not intend to let them reach the city. He activated strengthening magic and hit the first goblin with a punch that sent him flying. He noticed they were stronger than before, so he called Pai. She got down from his shoulder and started kicking and hitting every goblin in the place and knocked them down like bowling pins. The soldiers thanked him and told him. The battle was going fine until suddenly a big goblin appeared whose rank was high, and with one hit, he broke the entire front row. It was only because of Clay that they were able to retreat and hold the line of defense until now. Shiro felt that Clay was in trouble, so he ran immediately to the forest. And when he entered, he found Clay fighting with some goblins and cutting them down one by one, but suddenly the wound in his back hurt him badly and his knee gave out and he fell on his knee from the pain. And this was a big mistake, because as soon as he fell, the goblins attacked him to finish him off. Thank God Shiro reached him at the last moment and electrocuted all the goblins and paralyzed them with the shock and saved Clay's life. Before they managed to withdraw, the hobgoblin appeared and jumped on them attacking. They both dodged the hit but found themselves surrounded by the goblins again. Clay screamed and told Shiro to run and escape and he would stop them, but Shiro decided to try a new move. Pai electrocuted some goblins and caused chaos, and in this moment Shiro took out the mono water that he brought from the cave and sprayed it all on Clay and then cast a healing spell which not only healed his wound but transformed him into a half-dragon like Kaiju number 8. At that time, Clay turned into a monster in every sense of the word and kept breaking and destroying every hobgoblin around him alone until the slaughter stopped and no one was left standing except him. After a while, the guildmaster arrived and thanked Shiro for his help and promised him that he would return the favor. On the same night, Clay entered Shiro's room and returned to his normal form. He asked Shiro, "Did you cast a spell on me or what?" So he told him that this was mono water from a lake of an ancient dragon. Clay was shocked and told him that his ancestors long ago were dragons, but now he is just a lizard. But thanks to Shiro, he was able to return to a half-dragon form. But he admitted that he was terrified to use this form again, fearing he would lose control and destroy everything. Shiro reassured him and told him not to worry. Suddenly, Clay became serious and asked him, "Who are you exactly?" Then Shiro decided to tell the truth and told him he is reincarnated. Here after he died in another world. Clay was surprised and could not believe it, but after what he saw with his own eyes, he did not know what to believe anyway. The two agreed to sleep because the night was long. The next morning, Shiro woke up early and went out to walk in the city a bit. While walking, he saw a shop selling items and tools and stood watching from the window. The owner of the shop came out to open and asked him if he was interested in weapons and artifacts. Shiro told him that he was looking for a good pair of scissors to use in gathering. The furry shop owner told him that she did not have any, but understood immediately that he was the famous collector everyone was talking about, and told him that she could provide him with excellent scissors because their head blacksmith was a legendary maker. But to make these scissors, Shiro had to bring them some things they needed. Shiro was surprised by this and went inside with her. As soon as he entered, he was surprised by the blacksmithing work and 3 blacksmiths working with fire. Ripple told him that she fell in love with the sound of iron being hammered. Then she introduced him to the head blacksmith, a dwarf with a grumpy face. Immediately, Ripple suggested that Shiro could bring them Aldra ore from Maruhaik mine, which they needed very much to enter the upcoming sword-making contest. The dwarf refused and said he would not allow a regular collector to enter a mine like this. Ripple started arguing with him, and the two fought, and in the end, she pulled him by his beard and told him that they must win the contest, not present a mediocre sword. The dwarf got angry and said that the mine was dangerous, and there were rumors about demons, and that he cared about the customer's safety and would not send Shiro there. Ripple was touched by the words and apologized to Shiro for wasting his time, but Shiro simply put a plate of biscuits in front of the dwarf and asked him, "If I brought you the Aldra, would you make me the scissors?" The dwarf got tense and said he did not want to bear responsibility for anyone's death, but Shiro reassured him that he could protect himself and took out a crab claw from his pocket. The dwarf knew, as soon as he saw it, that it was a B-rank monster, and then agreed immediately. The next day, Shiro rode the carriage with other adventurers on his way to Maruhike Mine, and Pai was bouncing with excitement. The adventurers started talking about things strange happening in the area, like plants dying suddenly and terrifying sounds from the forests. Shiro got a little tense and thought maybe this was because of him, but dismissed the idea. As soon as he arrived, he visited a horse trader, and he had wished to buy a horse one day. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice yelling at the trader. It was the strange elf he had saved before. She was yelling at him, saying she ordered a strong white horse that runs fast, but he gave her a huge white bird. The trader told her that here, any creature that carries something is considered a horse. She understood that she was the one who made a mistake and said she meant a Pegasus, and the trader told her that the Pegasus is not here but in the dwarf kingdom. Shiro was hearing the talk from afar and did not want to get involved with her again, but while walking, he entered the forest to gather mushrooms and flowers. Suddenly he heard yelling and went to see. He found her sleeping from hunger like the last time. He gave her food and water, saying to himself that her head is empty in an unnatural way. As soon as she ate, she woke up and became perfectly fine and thanked him, but her smell was hideous, so against his will, he cleaned her with a spell. She was surprised and asked him, "What did you do to me?" He told her, "I cleaned you because you were ruining the image I know about elves." She introduced herself as Phil and thanked him for saving her twice, and he told her it was nothing and started to walk away, but she stopped him and said that elves must return the favor and that she wants to help him. Shiro told her he does not need anything, so she told him she would help him in his work. Pai flew towards her, and Phil said that even the dragon agrees to her presence, and he agreed that she walks with him until the first city and continued gathering mushrooms. Phil returned to him every little while with excitement. Once she told him that she found rare monster droppings, but it turned out to be a wrong pebble, and once she brought droppings, natural, and in the third time, she brought a poisonous mushroom. At night, she told him that she would gather firewood, but he told her that he would use a magic stone, but Phil told him that fire shows travelers that the place is safe. Shiro was convinced, but she returned with a huge log. He told her it cannot be burned, so she threw it up and cut it with her dagger, and here he discovered that her dagger is ruby. Everything started to become clear. Afterwards, Shiro cooked great food, and Phil went crazy from the taste. She asked him if he was going to the dwarf kingdom. He told her yes for the Aldra, and asked her why she was going, so she coughed and said that she is looking for a Pegasus that her sister wishes to see, but returned to joking so as not to spoil the mood. Shiro got an idea and told her to be the guard for the rest of the trip. Phil rejoiced very much and said that she would protect him from evil, but Shiro's goal was to learn useful things like the firewood story. Phil was shocked that he wanted a simple return in exchange for his food to her, and she agreed and acted like a classy elven lady, and Shiro was excited that he is traveling with an elf for the first time, but all the excitement flew away when she started snoring to the point that he did not sleep all night. The second day, they arrived at the border city. Shiro went to try dwarf food, and Phil said that the taste is like what her lizard friend man told her. Shiro told her that he also has a lizard man friend, and Phil snorted and said that her friend is the chief dragon knight in the Estella's empire. This word hit inside Shiro's head, and suddenly he heard a familiar voice behind them saying, "Did someone say my name?" They turned and found Clay standing. Shiro and Phil were shocked, and Clay told them laughing, "It looks like fate wants to bring my friends together." And after that, he looked at Shiro and told him, "How is your heart so hard to leave the town and go without telling me?" Shiro got tense and told him that he informed the guild. Clay naturally was not convinced and asked him where he was going. As soon as he knew that Shiro was going to the Maruhike mines, he started yelling at him again and telling him that adventurers of his rank basically should not accept dangerous missions like this, and told him that this place is terrifying, and if he is not taking a heavy reward, it is useless to go there. But Shiro puffed up and told him that he is taking a respectable reward. A legendary blacksmith will make him ultimate scissors to gather with the ingredients. Clay was shocked and told him, "What reward is this, my son?" But Shiro is convinced that if he befriended this blacksmith, he would craft him legendary cooking tools. Later, Clay then told him that he is an idiot sandwich to agree to something like this. And although Shiro says that scissors are the most important tool for a collector, Clay suddenly said that he is coming with him on the mission because he is going to the dwarf lands to repair his spear. Shiro was not comfortable at all with the idea, but Phil rushed in on them and asked Clay, meaning you will be Shiro's guard too, and started showing off that she would protect him until he arrives. Clay liked the talk and said, "Okay, he will be a guard too." Shiro was annoyed because their personalities would just give him a headache even if they are strong, and after a while they arrived at the dwarf capital, but found a line in front of the city gate. Luckily, Clay knows the guards, so he let them in from the VIP gate, and while they were going down long stairs, stairs. The guard started explaining to them the city's history. As soon as they went down, Shiro and Phil were shocked by the look of the place. The mountain itself is carved from inside in the form of a city, complete. And then the guard told Clay that the king wants to see him. Shiro was surprised that Clay knows the king, and Clay told him that indeed his relationship is good with the king without deserving it. The guard was telling him no modesty. You are the hero who saved the country. Clay told them this is a misunderstanding and started telling Shiro. He said that long ago dwarves knew how to craft weapons, but did not know how to use them, so a strong demon controlled them and was taking tribute from them. One day, Clay passed by chance, and as soon as the dragon saw him, it ran away. He does not know why, and the dwarves thought that he was the one who scared it, and from that day they saw him as a hero. The guard told him that they still see him as a hero, to the point that they made him a new statue. But Clay held his head when he saw that the statue made him look like Godzilla, and when they arrived at the palace, Clay complained to the king about the statue, but the king told him that the people see it as very cool. After that, the king looked at Shiro and asked him why he came. Shiro handed him a letter from the legendary blacksmith and requested permission to enter the Roi mines. The king asked him if he knew that the mines became full of demons after the earthquake that happened, and Shiro told him that he knew. Clay told the king that he would accompany Shiro as a guard and also guaranteed that Phil is strong enough. The king agreed to let them in and make them investigate the reason for the increase in demons. Clay agreed immediately, and Shiro wanted to cry because he basically did not want to enter into an investigation mission. But Clay, the hero of the country, said it is done and settled. After that, they entered the mines with a dwarf guide named Zambo. Shiro lit up the cave with magic and then cast a spell to memorize the map with. And of course, Clay and Phil said that he does impossible things as usual. Shiro ignored them and started looking for Aldra ore, but found some poor quality ores. Zambo was impressed that he found them at all, and when Shiro suggested entering deeper, Pai warned of a coming danger. Shiro confirmed with the search skill, and after seconds, 2 spiders appeared. Clay killed one with a hit, and Shiro paralyzed the second, and Phil finished it off. They continued after that, and Shiro found a terrible amount of Aldra ore behind a wall. After he took permission, he exploded the wall, and they found a large space full of purple crystals. Shiro thought it was Aldra ore, but Zambo told him this is Aldrite rarer and more expensive. Shiro did not grasp its value. Suddenly, Pai warned again, and Zambo said from the sound that the demon is coming. Shiro stood in front and told him, "Leave this monster to me, because it is not a normal demon. This is a giant demonic crab," and Shiro wanted to eat it. Pai hugged him happy, and Shiro was saying that he wanted to eat it raw if he could. Clay and Phil were standing shocked. Phil told him to focus. "The monster is in front, you idiot." Luckily, Shiro heard her and jumped from the claw strike that was going to cut him in 2 halves. Clay and Phil told him that this monster is rank B and they must join forces and defeat it, but Shiro refused, so no one would beat him to it and take the best piece of meat, and ordered pie, but without fire or lightning. After that, he held his staff and laughed like a madman and started casting buffs on himself and speed and weight reduction. He attacked the crab with all his strength, but discovered that a full strike did not make a scratch, and the crab hit him into the air, and he flew, but luckily he landed on his feet. After that, the crab pushed him away again, and Pai froze its leg to the ground. Shiro thanked her and started examining the crab's body until he found 3 weak joints. After that, he summoned ice spears, and Pai wrapped them in wind and made them spin quickly, and Shiro hit the joints with them and froze the crab completely. Everyone was shocked, and Shiro and Pai were standing praying for the poor crab. Clay went crazy that he did not fight, and Shiro apologized to him and told him that if they killed it normally, it would be ruined with blood and mud, and the meat would spoil. Clay was shocked that Shiro intended to eat a monster, and then got angry that as a guard he is useless if Shiro attacks alone. Shiro apologized and said that he is used to fighting this type. Clay said okay, but after this they must work as a team. Shiro and Pai apologized again. Clay patted their heads and said it is fine. After that, he said to carry the crab and get out. After that, the group started gathering the Aldrate crystals, and Shiro told Zambo that he still saw more ore in the depth. Zambo cried from joy because Shiro found a new mine. At that time, Shiro started feeling that all the changes happening in the world are because of the butterfly effect, and that this changes the history of the world, and understood the intent of the leader who brought him here. And while walking behind his friends, he said that his selfish decisions started changing the world effectively, and he hoped the change would be good. They returned to the palace, and Shiro told the king that they finished the investigation investigation and killed the biggest danger there. The king rejoiced, but asked for confirmation from Zambo, who started getting excited and telling him how Shiro took down the crab and asked to show it to the king. Shiro opened the magic bag and the crab popped out and caused shivers in the whole palace. The king was shocked by its size and approached it to see it himself and said that Shiro's courage deserves a reward. Shiro asked for the crab. The king was startled because there is no value in it in his view. Afterwards, they went out to the city and Phil was happy that they took a lot of money from the king, but Shiro did not care. All he thought about was how he would cook the crab. Clay started to get scared of them when he saw Shiro and Pi drooling in a terrifying way. The next day, Phil received a Pegasus as a gift from the king because he knew she was looking for one. Phil rejoiced hysterically, and Zambo brought Clay his repaired spear. Phil rode the Pegasus and told Shiro that she would return with it to her sister immediately, and that she is indebted to him all her life. Shiro told her it is fine. I took the crab, the carriages arrived, and Shiro bade her farewell. She told him surely we will meet again and flew. After days, Shiro and Clay arrived at their city, and Bunny Girl Senpai received them. She was surprised that they were together and asked if they formed a team. Shiro told her no, he was just walking with me. But Clay interrupted and told her yes, we made a team. Arya was pleased and ran to inform the master immediately. While Shiro was looking at Clay with a side eye like that, Clay told him that he decided to stay walking with him for a longer period because he knows that Shiro is not a normal human and there must be someone sane watching him. Shiro was not very sure about the idea about forming a team with Clay, but Pi liked the idea from the start and started spinning around him with joy. And after Shiro thought for a bit, he said to himself that traveling with him would not be bad. The three of them sat thinking of a name for the team, and with a suggestion from Clay, they decided to name their team the Ether Black Squad, and they registered officially in the guild. After that, Shiro went to the blacksmith workshop carrying the aldrate crystals. And when Ripple and her master examined the crystals, Shiro asked them if this batch was sufficient for them to make the sword he wanted. Suddenly, the two started shaking like an old Nokia mobile, and Shiro got tense and thought that the high purity of the aldrate made it difficult to deal with. But what happened was that they suddenly kept screaming and crying from joy because they never saw crystals this pure in their entire lives. The master said that he has been a blacksmith for 120 years and never saw an amount of aldrate this pure before. Even he himself was about to cry because he wanted to help. Shiro was happy that the thing he brought pleased them, but Ripple told him that they could not pay him the price of all this aldrate. But he replied to them and said that his request remained as it was, and he wanted scissors made especially for him, and that was it. But he was ready to postpone this for a bit because he wanted Ripple and the master to focus first on crafting the sword with which they would enter the blacksmithing tournament half a month later. And while Shiro was sitting eating and drinking in the inn, the furry came with a letter from a noble who wanted to see him urgently. Shiro did not want to get involved with nobles and pretended he was having a kidney stone attack, but Clay told him to stop the nonsense. Even the furry reassured him and told him that Lord Balmont is not the bad type. Shiro opened the letter and found it sent to him, and Clay because they are a team, and the Lord said that he wanted to give them the honor of his medal. Shiro doubted and said, okay, and what does he want in return? But Clay understood and explained that the Lord surely wanted to see Pi. Shiro got tense and hugged Pi and said he will kidnap you, but Clay and the furry reassured him that the Lord had no authority to do that. After that, they were taken to the Lord's mansion in a luxurious carriage, and all the people were looking at them from the streets. Shiro wondered why people were focused like this, and Clay told him that this is the wish of any adventurer that a noble hosts him, because this changes his whole future. And when they arrived at the palace, Shiro was shocked by the amount of wealth that he saw. The doorman received them, and a team of servants opened the door for them, and Shiro was very happy because all his life he wished someone would receive him in this way. Suddenly, a small arrogant girl ran towards them and threw herself at Shiro and Pi. She asked, "Is this the small dragon? I expected it to look more mature than this," and with utmost arrogance said that this dragon is hers. Pi got startled and hid behind Shiro. Shiro told the girl that she was speaking incorrectly, but she replied with arrogance and said dragons are noble creatures, and who other than me should raise it? Shiro quickly understood that this girl was basically against logic, so he used scan on her and found that her name is Tish, and she is 14 years old and the daughter of the Lord. Shiro decided to try to calm her, so he sat in front of her and asked her, "Why do you think you have the right to take the dragon?" The girl said, while confused, that her butler told her that there is an adventurer with the dragon, so it is natural to demand it, and he also told her to scold the adventurers and act with superiority. Shiro got angry at the butler, but told Tish that Pi is considered his family and no one could separate them. The girl was shocked, and when Pi spoke to her, she understood that he is not stupid as she thought. Suddenly she cried and apologized to Shiro. Pai flew to her to calm her down, but he returned, hiding behind Shiro quickly. Shiro asked her why she wanted a dragon in the first place, so she said that she wanted it to show it to her mom. At this moment, her father appeared, and Shiro was shocked by his appearance, which was younger and much more handsome than he imagined. The Lord welcomed them, and they sat drinking tea, and he apologized for his daughter's behavior. Clay got serious and asked the Lord straight away why he wanted them. The Lord said that the matter was about his wife. Clay was shocked and explained to Shiro that the Lord's wife has been sick for years. The Lord confirmed the words and said that he heard a rumor that Shiro treated someone who was very sick in one day and wanted him to help his wife. Shiro feared the idea because his magic is very strong and was the cause of Clay's evolution. The Lord said that Tish wanted a dragon to put next to her mother, so maybe she would improve if she saw a cute creature. Clay was crying and Pai was crying too, and Shiro was very touched and agreed to treat the lady, but with caution. They went to the lady's room, and Shiro found her very frail and her face pale. He asked the Lord if he could light the room, but she was sensitive to light. He examined her with weak lighting and found her body full of diseases, and each one needed a hospital on its own, and he told the Lord that he could treat most of them, except for one problem called iver poisoning, which he did not understand. He kept silent for a bit, and then asked the Lord, "Will you trust me when I am a stranger?" The lady herself was totally desperate, and all she wished for was to hold daughter in her arms just once, so the Lord told him that he would trust him. Whatever happened, Shiro agreed, but said that he would not use the same treatment method he used with Clay, as this method drains a lot of mana and might kill the lady in her condition. So he started with the lightest. He treated her eyes that were in pain from any light and calmly, using a low mana rate, until he made her open her eyes and be amazed that she was seeing much better. Shiro then took out his staff and cast very strong magic that cleaned the whole room and opened the windows, and the light entered without hurting her. The lady wept with joy. They entered the Lord's office, and Shiro told him that your wife has iver poisoning. The Lord froze and understood immediately that this is intentional poisoning, but what broke his heart more was that this poison has no antidote, and he stood silent while collapsing. This iver poison turned out to be a very old poison, and people thought it was extinct, and no one knows a cure for it now. Shiro said that since there is someone who can still make this poison, then surely there is still someone who knows its method, and they must try to reverse engineer the poison formula from the start to find an antidote for it. Clay told him that they actually do not know the ingredients this poison is made of, but then Balmont came up with an idea. He told them that his ancestors were a bit crazy with hobbies and used to collect records and rare historical documents, and there might be information about this subject. In there, the problem is that most of these records are written in an ancient language that no one in this time understands. But of course, this is not an obstacle for Shiro, who has the translation skill that lets him understand any language and turn it to Japanese immediately. Although he did not know where to start, he kept searching for any word having a relation to toxins, and in the end he found a book containing information about the iver plant. The strange thing is that the information is present in the diary of someone named Polara Pola, and he calls himself the cutest adventurer in history. Shiro got into the mood too much and started reading while acting out the character of an awkward otaku teenager, until Clay covered his mouth quickly before he gave them a headache with his talk. In the diary, Polara Pola says that he found a big rock in the shape of a winged horse next to a huge lake, and next to it golden flowers, shining. As soon as Shiro read this part, Clay said that he knows this place and took out a map showing them a lake on the outskirts of Balmont's land containing a large Pegasus statue, and said that the flower they are looking for might be there. But the problem is that the place is far, about 5 days by carriage. Shiro said, "Fine, we will leave right now," and Balmont started preparing everything for them, and the butler, who looks perverted, was watching them from afar and sent a carrier pigeon with a message to someone unknown before they left. Shiro put a protection magic stone in front of the lady's room and told Balmont that this is to prevent anyone from trying to harm her while they are not present. At that time, Tish came running and apologized to Shiro for what she said before, and he told her that her words were very hurtful, but since she understood her mistake by herself, then that is enough, and told her that the most important skill she could learn in her life is to admit her mistake and take time. Before acting, Tish promised him she would do so. After that, he told her that someone might try to incite her against him after. He leaves and portray him as a scammer or evil, and asked her, instead of believing anyone, to go tell her father immediately. And after that, Shiro and Clay rode the unicorn and set off. Shiro cast a spell to reduce weight and speed up movement, and suddenly the horses were running at crazy speeds to the point that they arrived faster than expected. As soon as they reached the place, Shiro was shocked. The village Clay spoke about was prosperous long ago. Now it is destroyed and looks dead. Shiro said maybe the lake dried up, but Clay said that it is large and impossible to dry up. And when they arrived, they found the lake looking terrifying. The water was poisoned, and the trees inside it were dead. Shiro examined the water and found that it was poisoned with toxins of the granite buffalo monster, and told Clay that someone poisoned the lake on purpose. Suddenly, the people of the village appeared carrying sticks and knives and screaming while afraid. Shiro saw their weakness and fatigue and spoke to them calmly and told them that he is an adventurer going to gather a rare plant. They did not believe him at first, but when Clay showed them his rank badge, they dropped their weapons immediately and started telling him the story. 10 months ago, suddenly, the lake was poisoned, the fish died, and the groundwater spoiled, and there was no food or drink. At this moment appeared a merchant named Ash and told them that he could save the village, but in exchange for a rare golden flower that grows next to the lake once every month. This flower was a great secret in the village, but people were dying, so they agreed. But the water he gives them is barely enough for drinking and not enough for farming, so they lived in hunger and ruin. Shiro told them that Ash is a scammer and that the timing of his appearance proves that he is the one who poisoned the lake to monopolize the flower. The people were shocked and could not believe it, but Shiro kept explaining to them one by one until they started to grasp the disaster. Shiro got angry and said that he himself would blow Ash away and expose his game, and then he decided to help the people of the village first. And after things calmed down, Shiro went down to the ground and cleaned them with magic and repaired their houses, and then took out a huge stove and cooked them a hot meal unlike any other. And after eating, the village elder told him he did not know how to thank him. Shiro told him to just let him gather the iver flowers, and the elder agreed. But before he finished speaking, some children entered and asked Shiro to come play with them. The elder told him to ignore them, but Shiro laughed and told him that he was happy to see them joyful. The children took him to their secret base, which turned out to be a storehouse where they threw very bitter fruits that had a little nectar that tasted sweet. Shiro tried to use his skills on the fruit, but the screen appeared empty. However, he noticed the brown liquid coming down. From it, he tasted it, and suddenly his mind opened up. This taste was soy sauce, and at the same time in Balmond's palace. Tish heard the alarm device that Shiro installed and ran to her mother's room and found the butler Bernard standing inside. She got very scared and told him to stay away and asked him if he was trying to kill her mother. He pretended to be calm and asked her who said that, and when she told him about the alarm, he started mocking Shiro and saying that adventurers are beggars and scammers and that he surely did these things to rob her father. Tish refused to hear a single word and tried to defend Shiro, but Bernard played on the trust factor and told her, "Do you believe an adventurer who just arrived or a man who served your family for years?" The girl got confused and started trembling, but the office door opened and Balmond entered. He heard both sides and seemed convinced by Bernard's words, but at the same time knew that Shiro truly improved Miles' condition, so he decided to conduct a test. He brought a jug of water, and the butler got very tense. Balmond said that he had no way to know the truth other than making Bernard prove he is not a traitor and asked him to drink the special water that he himself always brings to Miles. Bernard was startled and started stuttering. Balmond splashed water on him suddenly, and Bernard screamed and said it was poisonous, but Balmond drank from it and said it was normal water, and the real poison was in the pitcher that Bernard always presented to his wife. The soldiers seized him, and Balmond found a coded letter in his room and understood that there was someone big behind the case. And at the same time, Ash arrived at the village and knocked on the elder's door. One of the locals opened and saw him, and the merchant said that he came to take the flower early this time. The man tried to tell him that they would not give him anything because the flower is poisonous, but Ash had prepared a surprise and immediately signaled his men and told them to finish everything quickly. And at this time, the village elder was leading Shiro and Clay from inside a secret cave until they reached the place of the golden iver flowers that grow next to a winged horse statue. Shiro was dazzled by the beautiful view in front of him, and when he finished looking at the Pegasus statue, he started analyzing the iver flowers and discovered that these flowers do not appear except on the shore of this lake, specifically because they were made from the tears of the legendary monster Worry Huffle. Shiro asked the elder about the legendary monster and learned that Huffle is the winged horse that protected the village long ago from the lake demons. And from that day, their ancestors started obeying him as a guardian leader for them, and all the village people memorized the story that the iver was made from his tears. Shiro asked the old man if he could take something that has great value like this, so he told him that considering he is the savior of the village, he could take what he wants. Shiro was happy and plucked one flower only and said that this was enough to make an antidote for the poison and started thinking about trying the soy sauce fruit. But his thoughts were interrupted when he heard someone screaming nearby. After seconds, one of the villagers ran towards them while gasping for breath from running and terrified, saying that the village was burning because of the merchant Ash. Shiro and Clay carried the elder and the second man on their backs and ran to the village. As soon as they arrived, they found a terrifying sight. All the village houses were burning. Shiro did not waste a moment and started putting out the fire with Pai's help. And at the same time, Clay was saving the locals, and they were able to control the situation quickly, but the houses had already become ash. The village guard reassured Shiro that no one was injured with serious injuries, and this was the best news they could hear. Shiro asked how the fire started. The guard told him that Ash came and asked for the ivor flowers, and when the elder refused because he knew it was poison, he ordered his men to burn the village. Shiro got very angry at the merchant's evil, and at this moment, the elder started panicking that he could not find the boy Gonza. Shiro remembered him immediately, the boy who got attached to him quickly and started suspecting that Ash kidnapped him. Immediately, an old woman ran and said that Ash actually took Gonza towards the lake when people were running from the fire. Shiro's anger ignited, and he activated the search skill at max range and found human signals in a nearby abandoned castle and told Clay that Ash had at least 100 thugs with him. Clay replied with confidence and said this is not a problem and rode his unicorn. The elder tried to stop them because the situation was dangerous, but Shiro reassured him and told him they are strong enough and promised him he would return Gonza safe. They reached the castle, and Pai flew to explore the place and found the whole gang celebrating. Shiro started thinking of a plan, but Clay transformed into the kaiju number 8 form from the intensity of anger because he could not stand someone kidnapping a child and throwing a party on top of that. Shiro tried to calm him and said to him that if he attacked without a plan, he might expose Gonza to danger. And then he got an idea and cast a spell of invisibility for him and Clay, and thus they were able to bypass the drunken guards easily and also knocked one out. Going to refill a drink, Clay felt that the whole gang was above them, so Shiro decided they stay hidden for the longest time while dealing with them, and Clay noticed that Shiro was walking around collecting everything in the castle, and Shiro told him he was gathering evidence of the gang's crimes. They kept looking for Gonza, but he had no trace even after they went around all the rooms. Clay said enough, they must confront the merchant himself and know from him the location of the boy, and Shiro agreed. They arrived at the room where Ash and his men were holding a party and heard one of them laughing and saying how much the village people were pitiful while watching their houses burning. A second one said, "I wished we knew the flowers location," and a third arrogant one said, "No problem, we kidnapped Gonza for this," and started explaining their evil plan that when they leak news that a rich man like Balmond had his wife die because of ivor poison, people would get scared and start buying the poison to kill their enemies with it, and then they would raise the price as they liked. And as soon as he finished speaking, a bottle hit him on the back of his neck, and he fell from the force of the blow, and the one who hit him was Ash himself to remind them that the plan was secret. Shiro and Clay heard all the talk, and Clay said that he could not hold himself back anymore. Shiro told him, "Fine, do whatever you want, but do not kill anyone." Immediately, Clay canceled the invisibility and broke the door, and the gang went into a state of panic. Clay started hitting them right and left, and Ash got tense and told one of them to bring their secret weapon even though it was not yet under their control. And at this moment, Shiro appeared next to Ash and told him they must keep the child away first. Ash thought he was one of his men and told him Gonza's location without thinking, and when he turned, he found no one. Shiro ran towards the storehouse where Gonza was, and there he found one thug bored because he was the only one working while the rest were celebrating. Pai said that he would handle it, and Shiro agreed. The small dragon flew at him and dragged him with the door and knocked him down. Shiro entered calling for Gonza, and the boy replied to him quickly. Shiro broke the lock with his palm and opened for him, and Gonza ran to him terrified. Shiro told him to return to the village immediately, but as soon as he went out, he found the whole gang running, terrified. He saw some tentacles coming out from above the castle wall, and was almost sure that this was not Clay. He grabbed one of the gang and asked him. He told him the lake monster attacked them. Shiro did not believe him completely, but decided to see for himself. He asked Gonza if he could run alone to the village, but the boy was terrified and could not leave him, so Shiro told him to hold on to him well. He ran to the combat zone while making a shield around him, and found the monster Clay was fighting was a huge sea anemone. He scanned it with the inspection skill, and it turned out to be a monster of rank B called the Black Anemone, and it turned out that it was summoned by Ash himself. Shiro turned to Ash, who was fallen terrified, and saying for anyone to save him. Shiro wished to leave him as food for the monster, but when the monster attacked him, Shiro made a shield and prevented his death. He decided to capture him alive and ask him later, and told Clay that they must finish quickly. Clay was suffering from the tentacles that were endless, so Shiro said he would make things easier for him. He used strong strong ice magic and froze the monster in its place. And Clay was impressed, but Shiro told him they still must destroy its brain for it to die. Clay hit it with a hard punch, but the hit activated a defense mechanism in the monster, and the tentacles hardened and rushed towards Shiro, who did not have time to make a shield. He tried to block with the staff, but the force threw Shiro and Gonza outside the wall. Shiro grabbed Gonza and threw him up so that Pai could catch him while he fell inside the poisonous lake. He started drowning and thought it was his end, and that he sacrificed himself so as not to leave anyone in danger, and this was not causing him sadness, but he was upset that he would not be able to do all the things he wanted to do, especially soy foods. Suddenly, the black K-pop leader felt him and decided to help him, as he did good in this world. But Shiro was still thinking about food and the scissors he did not receive, and someone was calling him and he was not replying. The caller got fed up, so pulled him out of the water. Shiro was shocked when he found the one who saved him was a white-winged horse and told him, "Do not die on me like this." She introduced herself as Huffle, and he remembered the name but forgot where he heard it. He started talking to her and asked her if this was her home and apologized that he fell into it. She told him, on the contrary, this is a good thing because the lake water started to get purified suddenly and the plants returned to life. Shiro did not believe it, so she told him that the reason is that long ago the magic element in the lake stagnated and she weakened very much, and with her last power she created the Ivor flowers to clean the lake, and this turned her body to stone and the flowers remained alive, but ash dirtied the lake again, and when Shiro fell, he absorbed the poison and thus freed her from the freezing. She returned him to his friends, and he told them that the Pegasus Witch saved him, but no one other than him could see her. She thanked him before disappearing. They returned to the village and returned Gonza to his family. Afterwards, Shiro made a magic circle with stones and told Clay to enter with him. Clay was worried, but trusted him, and Shiro activated the circle, and they transported immediately to Balmond's palace. There, he made a poison antidote quickly, and Meal recovered from the first sip. People all cried from joy, but Shiro was not done yet. He returned to the village, which was being rebuilt, and told the elder that he handed ash to the governor along with all the evidence, and he would not smell the air again. The elder wept and asked how they could repay his favor. Shiro smiled and brought him a boiled potato and put on it butter and soy sauce, and told him to try it, and immediately he was struck by the taste he tasted, and Shiro started working on his business proposal. He asked the elder to sell all the soy sauce fruits they had, and they could use this money to expand the fields where they grow these fruits. The old man agreed to that, but told him that he would not be able to use all the fruits. Shiro revealed to him that he intended to make soy sauce famous in the big cities, and then it would be a special thing for their village. And thus he made for everyone the experience of potatoes with butter and soy sauce. And afterwards he headed on his way. He reunited with Clay, and they were walking and talking about the mission, and suddenly Huffle landed in front of them. Shiro was surprised when he saw her, but after that Huffle shocked him more when she turned into a beautiful girl and said that she is joining his team now. Shiro and Clay were confused by this talk, and Clay asked her why a witch would like to travel with a crazy human. Huffle replied that she stayed in one place for a long time and now wants to explore the world. She feels it will be fun if she stayed with Shiro, and in return she agreed to let him ride her, but as a horse, and she is very excited for the journey. Shiro felt that problems would increase for him from now on. Afterwards, Shiro returned to the city and went to the blacksmith to talk about the scissors he ordered. The head blacksmith told him that thanks to the aldrite ore he won the sword-making competition, and now he can focus all his time on making the greatest scissors in the world. Shiro went out of the shop very happy. Outside the shop, he found Huffle waiting for him. She asked if he got what he wanted, and Shiro replied to her that the blacksmith would need some time. Huffle, the annoying flyer, told him that she could hit him to make him work faster. Shiro asked her not to hit anyone, so Huffle agreed and dropped the idea and asked him to give her potatoes with butter and soy sauce. He told her she ate one already, but Huffle told him that is in the past and started competing with Pai, who can eat more potatoes, and Shiro started regretting that he brought her with him. And at this moment, the furry arrived from the guild and invited him to a meeting there. He told him about a material gathering competition the guild organizes every year and asked him to participate in it. Huffle was interested in the competition, but Shiro told the furry that he is satisfied with just the tasks of gathering materials. But the furry and Arya told him that Lord Balmond himself requested that he participate, and because he is the official sponsor of the competition, they must listen to him. Shiro understood that he cannot refuse the request of the local lord, so he agreed to participate, and this pleased the furries very much. After a few days, the competition started, and the guild master explained the rules to all the enthusiastic adventurers. He started by displaying a picture of Balmond's family and said that the lord wants to surprise his wife, who just recovered, so he wants the adventurers to find a rainbow sheep color colored, 7 colors. All the adventurers got excited, but Shiro was confused because he never heard of this material before. The guildmaster explained that this 7-colored wool is very rare, and everyone must know about it before the competition, but he forbade them from seeking help from anyone else. This competition is to test the material gathering abilities of every adventurer, and they are all competitors to each other. He told them to go to the library to know more information and rent horses or carriages if they needed, and forbade them from helping their friends. Clay understood that no one can go with Shiro and suggested to him to use the fast travel spell to find the rainbow sheep quickly, but Shiro refused because he wanted to play fairly and no one would complain if he lost. He also said that he would not even take Pai with him. Pai started crying and weeping and asking him to go with him, but Shiro told her this is against the competition rules. Pai did not accept the refusal and kept ignoring until Huffle hugged her well and made her sleep in seconds. Shiro was surprised and asked Huffle how she did that. She told him that she transferred her mana to the baby dragon who slept after getting full. She assured him that she would take care of her and asked him to focus on the competition. Shiro thanked her and ran to the library and used his magic to find information about the rainbow sheep quickly. After that, he ran to the mountain where the sheep are. Shiro arrived quickly because of his great speed, but suddenly he remembered Pai and worried because it was the first time to be away from her, and also worried about her excessive eating habit when stressed. It turned out that Pai actually was eating a lot because she missed Shiro. Huffle told her there is no need to be depressed like this and started boasting that she is faster than her. Pai got angry and started fighting with her, and she did not stop. Clay told them to stop and said to Huffle that she does not need to prove her speed to anyone because she is the fastest, and this pleased the Pegasus Witch. After that, Clay praised Pai's agility while flying in the sky and calmed her down. After they finished eating happily, Clay thanked Shiro because he told him to praise them if a fight happened between them. Shiro set up a camp for the night, and when morning came, he arrived at the bottom of the mountain and found a herd of rainbow sheep grazing. The book he read in the library told him that they are fast and hard to catch, so he started thinking how to approach. Suddenly he got an idea and started making loud sheep sounds. The sheep, the stupid ones, thought he was one of them and approached. Shiro asked them if he could take some wool, and a sheep came onto his lap. Shiro found the sheep cute and combed some of its fur. The rest of the sheep approached to get the same treatment, and while Shiro was gathering the fur, the rest of the adventurers arrived and saw the scene that was beyond their expectations. After that, Shiro returned home and gathered a quantity larger than required of the wool. Suddenly a dragon passed over him, and he thought it was Pai, who surely missed him a lot. Shiro ran to the city, and Pai ran to him and wet his clothes with tears and snot. The rest of the adventurers were present, and the guildmaster announced that Shiro is the winner because he was the fastest and also brought the largest amount of wool. Shiro felt that he could rest now, but the guildmaster had other plans. He invited him to his office and told him that they decided to give him rank B1, which of course does not mean Facebook. He explained to him that the guild recognized that he is comprehensive and can take all types of missions, and in the FB rank, he would be paid his wage. According to the mission rank, Shiro was happy because he would be able to take small missions from old clients at low prices. But Garrett shocked him and told him if the quality of materials he brings is different from what is required, the price would change. He explained to him that if Shiro kept bringing high-level things and selling them at a small price, he would ruin the market. The bear told him Garrett just wants to make sure he takes his due because his work is adventurous. He blushed and said everyone wants him to take good pay for his work. The bear asked Shiro if he would accept the promotion, and Shiro thought about its effect on the reality of people around him. Clay told him to stop thinking too much and accept the promotion with pride, and even Huffle wanted him to accept the unique rank that suits a unique person like him. Shiro thought a little before agreeing, and Garrett gave him the badge that indicates his rank. At this moment, Arya entered the room in a hurry with urgent news. She told everyone that the forest worm is heading to the highway and will reach the city soon. Garrett understood that regular adventurers would not be able to stop it, so he asked Shiro and his team to take the mission, and they agreed with pleasure. They reached the forest and waited for the forest worm, but were shocked when they saw the monster. It was very huge, and they did not understand how to defeat it. Suddenly, Shiro heard a familiar voice. It appeared to be the elven girl, Phil, and she was riding on the giant forest worm. Everyone was pleasantly surprised when they saw her. Phil got down from the monster and ran towards Shiro and said that she wanted to meet him again. Shiro did not pay attention and tried to use a cleaning spell on her. He asked Phil about riding the big monster, and she told him that she needed a favor from him, so she decided to bring him a gift. She thought that she knew he wanted to ride, so she brought her friend, Galam, from her country especially for him. Shiro immediately used the cleaning spell on the monster, who burrowed into the ground because he does not like cleaning. Shiro thanked Phil for the gift, but told her he could not ride something big like this. Phil said maybe he would like a white unicorn horse, but Huffle replied that the unicorn is basically a normal horse, and Shiro does not need anyone else because he has her. Phil asked about the new member in the team, and Shiro invited her to drink with them so he could tell her the long story. They arrived at the tavern, and Shiro told Phil about what happened after. She left them. He told her how he and Clay formed a team and were summoned by the Lord, which led them to a lake where they met the flying witch, who turned into a girl and joined the team. Phil was not surprised at all and asked Shiro if she could join the team too. Shiro told her that he intended to invite her anyway, and Pai was happy with the presence of Phil, the elven girl. She showed him the golden guild ring and said that she raised her rank and became an adventurer. Rank A. After the last meeting with them, Clay was impressed and invited her for a sparring match one day, and Phil agreed with pleasure. After that, Huffle said that the purity of Phil's soul comforts her very much, and she was going to tell them a secret, but Phil asked her to postpone the secret. Huffle decided to stay silent because she understood that Phil wanted to reveal the secret to her friends herself. Phil said if Shiro accepted her mission, she would reveal everything to him immediately. Shiro asked her to tell him everything now because he had been waiting for her for a long time. Phil said that her sister Ludi ran away from the village and wants Shiro to look for her. She explained that Ludi is the village priestess and was supposed to give birth to the next lord's successor and was supposed to marry and have children, but she ran away. Shiro understood that he is now in the middle of a big political drama. She continued the story and said how Ludi always said she did not want to marry someone she did not love and set a condition for marriage. She asked for a beautiful winged horse, but by the time Phil returned with a horse, Ludi had disappeared from the village. Phil said that since Shiro can use many spells, she thought he could find her sister, but after hearing the whole story, Shiro was not sure if he should return Ludi to the village that wants her to marry a stranger. Phil clarified that she does not want to return her sister, but is upset that Ludi left the village without telling her anything and wants to know her reasons, but Shiro decided to help her. Everyone else was also ready to go with her. Shiro decided to start the search from the elf village, and Phil led the team to the forest and told them that when they reached the forest, fulfilling some conditions, she would be able to open a path to the elf village for them. She told Shiro it is just a mechanical spell, and he started thinking if it was like his teleportation spell. Suddenly, Huffle told them it would be faster if they rode her. Immediately, she turned into the horse form and started acting like Gojo Satoru of horses, and said that in heaven and earth, she alone is the fastest. Shiro and his friends witnessed this, and Huffle took them to the middle of the forest in very little time. There Phil prayed to the river witch to open a path to the elf village, and a black vortex appeared in front of her. She told everyone to touch the vortex to go to the village and showed them an example herself and disappeared into the vortex. Shiro was surprised when he saw this, but Clay and Pai are not cowards like him and entered the vortex after her. When Huffle and Shiro remained alone, she asked him to watch Phil because she is hiding a dark secret behind her bright personality. Shiro found it hard to believe, but Huffle believed he could save Phil easily, and thus Huffle disappeared into the vortex, and Shiro followed her nervously. When he opened his eyes after they crossed the vortex, he saw the beautiful land and magical land of the elves. Suddenly, Pai and the rest arrived there looking for him, and they were all dirty. They complained that they worried very much when he did not appear in time, but Shiro thought that it only took a few seconds. He decided to clean them first as suddenly someone aimed an arrow at him that almost missed him. Arrows started coming at him in large numbers, and Shiro created a barrier around his team. Phil knew that these arrows were from her village, and at this moment the archers appeared and insulted Phil and asked her how she dared to enter their lands. Shiro believed Huffle's words about Phil's dark side and started thinking what exactly this was. The leader of the archers insulted Phil and asked how she dared to bring strangers to their land. Phil tried to finish her words, but the arrogant elf did not let her and said no one would trust her and said that her lowly companions were not supposed to walk on this land. But this talk upset Huffle very much. Huffle went out of the barrier with a look terrifying and asked the elf if he described her as lowly. The elf was shaken by her power, and dark clouds covered the sky. Huffle asked the elf how he dared to describe a witch like her as lowly, and then transformed into her true form. The elf was shocked by the sight, and then Huffle summoned lightning support and aimed at them all when the elves stood up again with their hair styled strangely and fell to their knees asking for forgiveness from Huffle. She scoffed and said that the elves truly fell if they were unable to recognize her power. Shiro was surprised because when Huffle is in horse form, only people who have enough magic can hear her, and all the elves were talking to her without a problem. The arrogant elf after that asked Huffle about the reason for her coming to their kingdom, and Shiro introduced himself answering the question. The elves did not welcome him much and asked him to introduce himself. Shiro introduced himself and his team and told the elf that there was an important member in the team. The arrogant elf was impressed when he saw Shiro was a comprehensive adventurer and introduced himself as Lyle and offered to lead them to the village. On the way, Huffle told Shiro that she felt something very annoying in the forest, but she did not know what exact. On the way, Shiro and the others were amazed by the beauty of the magical forest, but Clay noticed that the mana in the air was not pure, and this made breathing difficult. Lyle told everyone they must be cleaned before entering the village, and Shiro decided to take responsibility. He used a cleaning spell on everyone, and the surprise was that he used more magic than usual. Everyone got cleaned and felt that pure mana returned around them. Lyle was shocked and asked Shiro how he did that, and Shiro himself did not understand how the spell became strong suddenly. But the bigger question was why the mana was concentrated like this around the village, and Shiro thought it was related to the giant tree in front of them, and while they were walking on the road made by branches around the tree. The great Phil explained that the tree is the symbol of all elves, and the high elves live inside it. She said that only high elves and those with permission from them can enter the village, and they all understood that Phil is actually a high elf. She admitted that nervously and apologized, but Shiro did not understand why everyone was worried. Phil explained that high elves are forbidden from leaving their village and place their blood and laws above anything. Shiro asked if people die if they leave the village, and Phil told him no. Shiro told her okay. Then, because people must break some laws when precious things are at stake, Phil was surprised by his kind words, and Shiro told her that following laws might be right, but old laws make life hard when they are not modified with time. Phil was touched by his words, but Huffle decided to mock the elf society in general. She said that high elves are narrow-minded and think their village is the whole world, and she did not like the river witches who obey. For the same reason, Pi showed worry and hugged Phil, and she started crying when she saw how much her friends cared about her, and thus she led them to the palace of the high elves inside the world tree. A beautiful maid came to them immediately and welcomed them, and Phil asked her to arrange a meeting with their big brother. While they were waiting, Shiro tried the elf tea, which reminded him of matcha tea. Soon Phil's brother arrived, and Shiro noticed that he did not get enough nutrition in childhood. That is why his body is still a child. Phil ran to hug him, but her brother, Orcusto, avoided her, so she might step on him by mistake. After that, Phil introduced her friends and her brother to each other, and revealed that he is the ruler here, and he told them to skip formalities, and then welcomed Huffle with full respect. Shiro kept looking at the small-sized elf, who noticed and asked if he would like to know why the high elf is short like this. Shiro confirmed, and Orcusto told him that there is cursed blood in the family, and this is their reality. Phil got upset and started crying and said she wanted to break the curse. Shiro got very confused, but Orcusto told him not to mind his little brother, and this information almost made his brain go to darkness, realizing that Phil identifies herself as a female but has characteristics of both genders. Shiro was not able to understand this, but Clay found it logical because these things are normal for lizardmen. After that, Orcusto told the guests to rest while in the village before he left. Shiro asked him about the reason for the strange mana concentration around the village. Orcusto was surprised that Shiro noticed this and told him that the mana concentration increased the 6 months prior, which corresponded with the time Shiro found Pi. He asked permission to try something to help the situation, and Orcusto agreed. They went to the balcony, and Shiro created a big magic stone that amazed Orcusto, but the guards asked him to step back because it might be dangerous. Despite that, Orcusto trusted Shiro, and when he asked him to put his hand on the stone and activate it, he did so without hesitation. When he activated the stone, flew high above the elf village and emitted a green light that lessened the mana concentration and made everyone breathe easily. When Orcusto saw this, he understood that Shiro is the person mentioned in the village prophecy and knelt in front of him immediately and asked Shiro to go with them to a secret place containing a stone with an ancient prophecy. The prophecy tells about a catastrophic drought that will affect the elves after their blood weakens, but a person with different blood will appear soon and will return life to the land. Shiro and Orcusto started analyzing the prophecy, which talks about the extinction of the high elves. Shiro understood that the different blood might be someone from outside the family and felt that he might be this one. At night, Phil enjoyed the cool breeze after the mana concentration decreased. When Shiro approached and asked her about the elf curse, she sighed. While she was thinking about the subject, a maid volunteered to explain everything to him. She told him that the curse is a mysterious disease that appeared among the elves several generations ago and prevents their bodies from normal growth. About 50 years ago, the situation worsened suddenly. Children born do not live for a long time, and it appeared that the whole race is cursed. The maid wept and said that they do not know the cause of the curse and fell to the ground crying and and said she lost her child because of the curse too. Phil went to console her, and Shiro started thinking about the type of curse that could do this. The next day, Orcusto took Shiro to their mother, the Queen of Elves, who noticed the aura he has and said it is very strange. Before Shiro asked her, the queen noticed Pai and understood that he is an ancient baby dragon. She stood amazed and understood that. Pai chose Shiro to be worthy of traveling with him, and this is the reason for the unique aura he has. Pai agreed with her words while happy, and Shiro was worried that this was not the appropriate behavior, but the queen told him it is very normal. She thanked him for cleaning the polluted mana that affected their kingdom, but he told them we need to talk about the subject more. He asked the queen if the ground shook 6 months ago when the mana concentration started to increase. The queen confirmed and said the earthquake was violent to the point that it changed the river's course. Shiro told her that the earthquake might have awakened a certain monster, and this is ruining the mana flow in all the elf lands. The queen bowed before him and asked him to handle the matter, and Shiro promised her he would try his best. After that, Shiro told her there is something even more dangerous they need to talk about. And after a while, he returned to his friends and told them that he spoke with the queen about a very important subject. Everyone was eager to know the details, and Shiro told them that the different blood the prophecies talked about is not him. Everyone was confused by this talk, so Shiro used a magic device that prevents sound from going out because he will speak of something very shocking. He revealed to them that he examined the bodies of the queen, Orcusto, and the maid and found genetic disorders in them. Phil was shocked before understanding what this means, and Shiro explained to her that the genetic disorder means the physical map they inherited from their ancestors became corrupted. Clay asked why this happened in the first place, and Shiro decided to ask Phil a question to reach the answer. He asked about the maid's husband and knew that she married her twin brother. Shiro replied that the curse the High Elves are affected by could be called the Sweet Home Alabama curse, and in short, the mistake is all theirs. Phil said that the High Elves tried to preserve their blood by marrying from the same blood, and anyone who knows a little biology knows how dangerous this is. He told them that they just need to introduce external DNA into the High Elves' blood to prevent this from happening, and Phil was very moved and started crying from joy because she understood that the solution to the problem is very simple, and when applied, monsters like her would not be born. She started crying, and Huffle ran to console her. Clay raised an important question and asked how they could convince the elves to marry someone from outside their blood. Phil said that her mother and brother would listen to Shiro, but she is not sure about the rest. Shiro asked Huffle if she could issue an order making the elves listen to him, but she was not interested. She said she has no relation to the elves, and if they are on the verge of extinction, she does not care. She announced that the witch is fair to all creatures, and then asked Shiro if he would save every soul he meets, and he replied that he would help any friend because this is the right thing. He looked at Huffle intensely, so maybe she would change her mind, and she told him that he is too kind. She agreed to help the elves, but did not intend to do this herself. Instead, she told Phil that they need to find the River Witch, Lil because she would have more influence on the elves who obey her. Huffle asked Phil to stop crying because now the leader heard her and then looked at Shiro and told him that since he asked a favor from the leader, he must be ready to pay the price. He got tense and asked what Huffle wanted, and it turned out she just wanted 10 potatoes with soy oil. After a while, Huffle and Pai flew in the sky searching for the River Witch Lil, and at this time, Shiro and the rest waited in the forest anxiously. Huffle and Pai returned quickly and told them they could not see any trace of Lil, and this disappointed everyone. But Phil was very shocked because the guardian witch decided to disappear when they needed her most. Clay replied saying that since the mana around them is very heavy, surely something is wrong, and this might be the reason for the witch's disappearance. Shiro told Phil this is not the time to lose hope, and they must gather more information before any step. He asked her if they have an adventurer guild here, and she told him they have the Deimos Guild. Clay was surprised and told Shiro that the Deimos Guild is one of the most prestigious guilds in the whole continent. Shiro was pleased by the talk and told them they would be going to the guild right away. When they arrived at the Deimos Guild, which was just a small hut in the forest, Clay started praising it more and said it could be named the best guild in the continent because it has the highest average rank for adventurers, but they interact little with the outside world, and that is why many people called them the Ghost Guild. Shiro started to be optimistic and thought he might learn about rare ores from the guild. They entered the guild building, and the guild master Lady Sarah welcomed them. She said she heard a lot about Shiro and Clay and wanted to meet them when she knew they were in the city. Suddenly, she held Phil's hand in an exciting way and told her that she was very worried about her. Phil told her she is fine, but Sarah started flirting with her more, so Shiro decided to step away because the scene was strange. He saw Clay looking at the mission board, and and he told him there are no strange requests here regarding the strange things happening around the place. Shiro looked at the board and found in it many missions to gather items. The thing that caught his attention was the cat's ear mushroom, and Sarah told him that it is delicious even if eaten raw. She also told him that the mushroom glows in the dark and told him its location, but the high mana concentration recently made gathering it difficult. Shiro and Clay understood that they must go to this place because there might be clues about what is happening. Phil decided to show them the place because she knows everything about it. At night, Shiro prepared a new medicine, and Pai asked him, "What does this do?" He explained to him that it is a special potion he prepared as a precaution if anything unexpected happened. In the morning, they went to the guild, and Sarah handed them a pile of missions, all for gathering cat's ear mushrooms. She thanked Shiro because the demand for the mushroom increased, and he promised that he would bring the best possible quantity, but Sarah was worried about him when she saw that his team was not well equipped for missions. She told him the road would take a few days, but Shiro told her that is not a problem. The whole team rode on Huffle's back, and Phil came up and told her to go north until she sees a big lake, and the destination is right next to it. They flew for a bit until the lake appeared. Shiro was happy with the idea of discovering new ores there, but then Huffle told him that the mana in the air became very heavy as they approached the lake. Shiro immediately gave the medicine he made the night before to Clay and Phil and told them that it would help them deal with the dense mana inside the cave they were going to. Suddenly, Huffle told him she sees a cave, and Phil confirmed it is the cave with the mushrooms, but something was not right when they went down. Near the cave, they found many dead monsters on the ground, and when they saw the dead bodies changing color and losing all their rights, Phil got worried and told Shiro and the rest to wait while she examines the cave. Shiro told her to wait, but Phil did not listen to his words and suddenly sat on the ground, not able to breathe. Clay worried about her and ran to help her. Shiro tried to stop him, but it was too late, and Clay was also affected by the dense mana coming from the cave. When he saw his friends struggling to breathe, Shiro took out his staff and used a cleaning spell to reduce the mana concentration in the air. Thanks to this, the dark bodies of the monsters disappeared completely, and Phil and Clay were able to breathe normally again. Shiro was relieved that he could save them, but Huffle told him that the dense mana would fill the air quickly again. Shiro immediately told his friends to use the magic tool he gave them, and when they activated it, a golden light covered them and protected them from the dense mana around them. Now they all understood that the cause of the mana concentration must be inside the cave, and this is what killed the monsters. Shiro knew he has immunity against mana concentration, but he was worried if Clay and Phil would be okay even with the tool, but he does not have a magic tool for Huffle, so he asked her to wait a minute to make one for her. Huffle told him he does not need to, and suddenly transformed into her human form, but this time she was very small. Everyone was shocked when they saw her, but she told them that this size lets her stay with one of them and be within the range of the magic tool. She climbed on Clay's shoulder and told him to start moving, and thus the team entered the dark cave. Shiro used magic to light the place, and Phil told everyone to stay close to her so they do not get lost while walking forward. She said that the place emits a feeling scary, and all that is inside are remains of dead monsters. Suddenly they found a strange monster of the insect type, and Clay was surprised that there is a monster able to deal with this dense mana. Phil told him that she never saw this creature before and tried to examine it, but the monster threw deadly acid at her and she had to move away. Clay said that the monster surely adapted to the new conditions and they must be careful. Suddenly the team noticed that they are surrounded by more of these monsters. The scary insects approached and one attacked Shiro, who decided he would not surrender. He covered his fist with magic and punched the monster away and hit also some monsters on the way. After that, Clay joined the fight and killed a monster attacking him from behind, and then Pai used at the same time fire breath to burn some monsters. Although like this, the number of monsters was very large, and Shiro decided to deal with them all at once so the battle does not prolong. He asked Phil if there is an open space inside the cave. She told him there is a large space in front of them. She ran immediately to the area, and everyone followed her. The monsters were chasing them too, but luckily, Shiro and the rest reached the open place at the right time. He saw the monsters approaching and told everyone to stay close to him so they do not get injured in the crossfire. Shiro waited for the monsters to get close enough and then used a strong barrier expanding in all directions and destroying the monsters immediately when they touch it. After the attack, all the monsters disappeared and only some items remained behind them, but Clay worried that Shiro exaggerated in power because the attack opened the cave ceiling anyway. They forgot the damage that happened to the cave and sat eating a nice lunch and talked happily about the true pleasure in life being eating in places like this. Shiro told Phil to focus on the subject and asked her how deep this cave is. Phil told him that they reached halfway between the entrance and the altar that is. At the end of the cave, Clay asked if this altar is made for the obedience of the witch, Lil, and Phil replied with confusion that she does not know. She said that the altar is very old, and even the elves do not know the leader, and even the elves do not know the leader it belongs to. But the design and inscriptions on the altar are not for the witch, Lil. Shiro started thinking hard and suspected that if the altar is not for the obedience of a leader, it might be made to imprison something in it. After that, they continued their journey, and to their surprise, there were no insect monsters on the way. This time, Clay told everyone to stay awake because he felt something bad, and suddenly Phil told them that they reached the altar, which is behind the arch in front of them. When they arrived, Shiro found the altar covered with huge cat's ear mushrooms and forgot everything else, and started thinking of the best way to cook it. Suddenly, he noticed a hole in the wall and rubble on the ground. He thought if it was caused by the earthquake when he helped P hatch, and wondered how its effect reached as far as the elf lands. Suddenly, he felt a strong breeze of mana hitting him and thought what its source was. Everyone felt the same thing, and Huffle told them that something big was coming and was very close. Shiro was not able to see anything around him, but at that time, a drop of acid fell on Phil's clothes and gave him the answer. He created a ball of light above them stronger and found the monster in front of them is a huge snail climbing on the cave ceiling. The snail came down when it discovered that it was seen and started to appear in front of Shiro and his team, very huge. Everyone was ready to attack it immediately, and Shiro read the information about the snail. Because it is an S-rank monster, evolved living inside the cave, every part of its body is poisonous, even to Shiro, but its weakness is poison. His friends were shocked when they heard this, and Clay said that he heard of a black snail full of poison at one time that destroyed a kingdom alone. Phil told Shiro that they were unable to kill it alone and that they must escape, but he refused and told them they must not leave it because there is a huge treasure in front of them. Also, he saw that if they escaped now, they would not know how to find any clue about the witch, Lil. Escaping from an enemy they can defeat is not a right decision. Phil was surprised when she heard that they could defeat the snail, and Shiro told her that its weakness is fire, and this is Pai's specialty. Then he signaled Clay to enter the fight, and Clay immediately changed to his kaiju form. Phil said that he should have told her about this form before and told Shiro that she would not be able to help him in the fight and would settle for cheering him on. Phil decided to stay back and fight next to her friends. Shiro immediately made a magic barrier for her and then made spells to increase their lightness before telling them to unleash hell. Pai flew up and attacked the snail with a fireball, and the snail retaliated with its claws. He dodged all the claws, and at the same time, Clay rushed to attack it from the blind spot, but the snail noticed him and bound him with its claws. The claws were not strong enough to hold him, and Clay broke them by flexing his muscles and screamed with pride that he would cut the monster with his spear. He rushed in front of it and cut the snail's claws, but they regenerated immediately. He tried to blow fire on it again, but the snail attacked him and made him fall. Shiro and Phil asked him how the monster could deal with two at the same time when it does not even have eyes, but this made Shiro understand that the evolved monster living in a dark cave does not need eyes at all. He discovered that the antennae on the monster's head are its sensing devices and told Phil to target them. Phil rushed to attack it, and Shiro exploded the claws coming towards her. This made Phil jump and cut the antennae and made it move very slowly. Pai hit it with his strongest fire attack, but even this did not do much damage to the giant monster. Everyone started losing hope because even fire could not penetrate the wet skin. This made Shiro think of a traditional method to defeat snails in the modern world. He removed a jar of high-quality salt from his bag because salt absorbs moisture from the snail's body and kills it quickly. He was not happy that he was wasting salt on anything other than cooking, but he turned it into small balls and attacked it, and this made its skin melt. The snail tried to escape, but Clay cut it with his spear, and it died immediately. Shiro rejoiced that they won, but Huffle told them to look up because the cave walls were full of black snail eggs. Some eggs started hatching, and Shiro wondered how they could destroy them before they turned into fierce monsters like their mother. He read the eggs' description and found that they would die if exposed to the sun, and also have great value as raw material for alchemy. Immediately, he told his friends to cover their eyes, and then created a small magic sun inside the cave, and it killed all the snail eggs immediately. But while thinking that their problems ended, he felt a strong mana breeze again, and Huffle told him that the coming opponent might be the most dangerous one he faced in his life. She said that the dense mana concentration that was covering the place disappeared, but she now feels the presence of the witch. Before we end our story, do not forget to like, share, and comment on the video, because this encourages us to continue. And if you are new to our channel, subscribe and activate the bell button to receive everything new. Goodbye, my friends.